do push your Adam like in the sight. Adam like watching married. Just like do the left, do the right. I don't know, press subscribe and we'll dance every night with a Adam like melody. Reality. What's going on, beautiful people? What's going on? I don't know what that was, but did you agadoo with me? I hope you agadooed. Agadooed. Or agadooed. Adam Light, Married at First Sight. Going in with one of my final episodes, so bear with if this is a little bit longer. I want to talk about comments that have not been aired, that if they were, would have changed the perspective for me massively on one of the couples. We're going to break down each individual couple. A couple of the guys for me have shown some narcissistic tendencies, which I want to point out as I get in and out of the light. With Adam, light, dark, bright. And I'm really looking forward to this reveal. It's such a disgusting sentence that I have no idea how I'm going to say it. So bear with me squirming at the time. And unfortunately, because of this sentence, I'm probably going to have to put some age restrictions on this, guys. So it's going to, sorry about that. But let's get into it. Bam. End of the season. Let's put up the picture if we can. I'm going to get this picture. Just look at all them happy faces. All optimistic. All gone into a show to 100% claim at the very least that their intention is to get married, have beautiful family lives with strangers that were matched by experts. Next season, we need to see more into what these psychological matches are, because for me it doesn't make much sense. They say they're psychological matches, but other than job and the country that they've applied for the show in, I see no real psychological match. So that, for me, that process could be way better. And the experts this year have just gone so much with the drama over the actual expertise. I think we might even see some changes next year where some of these experts go, this is just not paying me anything valuable anymore, which would be interesting. So let's break down couple by couple, and then I'll get into some of the latter couples who I'm referring to in relation to those comments. So first up, the people who went first, I think PJ and Jess and Laura and Richie. My predictions for those guys were she was going to struggle with a stripper. And that really was the nuts and bolts and that. I think everything else was still circling the drain pipe. I think there's just a certain attraction that wasn't there. As much as everybody doesn't get it, I think it was still sweet. A lot of hate for Jess, I appreciated that, but I appreciated her honesty. I know she's moved on now, she's happy with partner, she's back at work, and PJ, I think he's back at work as well, which I'm sure is great news for some people watching watching the show at home. So good luck to them both. I think they're just separate people. I know I did another video in relation to a slight fallout there, but it was never going to be all fairies and roses. I think when it comes to a breakup, I think that's why the word break is in there. It's not sweet up, like up, it's a breakup. Anyway, Richie and Lara, I was really optimistic for these two, and I think too optimistic. My question for him was, would he be able to hear no when I first did a prediction months ago, and it didn't really change too much from that. However, he was not told no. So again, that for me was, there was a big communication breakdown, and then bless the guitar, the third wheel, and I kind of got to that point where feeling, I'm sure how maybe Lara felt, which was, I'm not sure whether this is completely genuine or whether your intention is to be in this to promote music and guitar and all your skills there. So it did get a little bit off. But again, broke up, and I did even predict, I said, you know what, if they separate, they'll still be friends. They'll still be cool. Or there might be some opportunity for something in the future. No. I can't. It's probably the biggest thing I got wrong. Like, wow, I was miles off with that. I don't think there's any love there at all now. I don't know. Not that there was love there in the first place, but no likey. I didn't bear it in mind. He had been on Take Me Out a couple of times. So anyway, Let's have a look at the next couple. We go to Jenna and Zoe. Now, I haven't seen, but this is the only point I've seen up until is where the final vows are about to take place. But I did see a small spoiler here. But it's still the same feelings for me, that they're good. They're great two individuals. But I don't see them as a couple, unfortunately. I thought there'd be an explosive end. I was completely wrong with that. But what I do really like about Jenna is she's vegan, but wears it with this lead by example situation way of dealing with things. I'm really impressed with how she's handled that whole situation and been completely open-minded to everything. And Zoe's just showed herself, I think, as just an ideal kind of partner who has got a real good moral standing, which sometimes that's really what you can hope for. So I think for them it's more of a friends with benefits thing even now. But I really like them both. I really want them to work. I really hope I am really wrong with that one. More wrong than anything. I hope they go on happy, and I know there's a few situations such as distance where there's issues with them living, children there, where Zoe wants children, Jenna doesn't. However, I still think that's something that I hope works because they're two beautiful people, and morally the same. And I think that's such a key thing that people never think about how morally you want to be the same. Otherwise you can, especially when children are involved, that can get complicated. Let's go to Jordan and Shanita. I called Shanita my bride of the season when it first started, and it was a bold call because she's the same as Jordan, the youngest guys who were in this experiment. And I don't know about you, but that must feel like a little bit of a surprise because they acted like the wisest at some points, especially in their relationship. So Shanita's face is that she keeps pulling. My gosh, that's just, for me to sit there and watch is perfect. Just I sometimes wish they had this thing in football that play a camera, just watch one guy, like just that face, like let's just see how she's reacting to all these certain situations. And for Jordan again to be her just kind of rock, it's been beautiful. I think there's a few little arguments that they've had. However, for me the arguments have been of a battling for the same thing, which is each other. So how cute is that? So my hope is these guys move on fantastically well. They end up being this season's, I'm trying to think, it was Adam and Teo, I think, from last season, who've just had a child, and bless them, they were a couple that really seemed to fly through last season. But bless them. Could Jordan and Shanita be on their way to a happy life? The only thing I'll say is they're a bit younger. Again, we've got to see with this one. I'm not sure myself. I think real world's going to make things really difficult, but I hope there's enough there to keep those guys together. Adrian and Thomas. So from my bride of the season to let's talk my groom of the season, to Thomas. Just what a guy. What a guy. And for me, the most genuine. Bearing in mind, cameras are rolling. I think anyone, as soon as a camera's on you, you feel different. And I can see a few contestants have played on that this year, but you're going to feel different. Just imagine, I'm just doing this video, I'm rolling my little phone that I'm talking to. I've got 40 cameras and microphones. I've gone through a process of makeup and mic checks and sound checks and conversations about points on the floor where I can stand, where I can't stand. You're going to feel awkward as. I can't, again, get over the fact that these two haven't worked out. Because for me, there's just so much there that should be workable. And they complement each other so well. And I think opposites can attract. But there's not been that there. Adrian, for me, this is two national treasures. I've never thought I'd feel like this in a breakup situation. Adrian, for his calming, but just really good way of being him, being genuinely himself and representing himself really well. Potentially a little bit guarded, I think so. But at the same point, I can see why some people completely disagree with me on that, and just he's very select in things. Bear in mind, Tommy's more heart on your sleeve, reaction off your sleeve as well. I just absolutely love that couple. Thomas, for me, I nailed groom of the season. His one-liners are unbelievable. I mean, at some point, I think the experts could have gone choosing your words a little bit better, But what I like is even without the experts' advice or that advice off camera, for me, we've just watched the growth in him more than pretty much anyone. And for me, it's quite a sweet element to see how he's handled it each point and each week, from block attack to where he's then just sitting there quietly going, good chat, good chat. Like, I'm not wasting my breath anymore, and I'm going to remove myself from situations. So I absolutely love that pair. Massive growth, I think, for both of them. And I want them both to be involved more in things in the future. I think for me, Adrian could be an expert on next season's Married at First Sight, and I'd love to see Tom do it again. So that's a nice way of looking at those two. Who should we move to next? Keisha and Kwame. These guys. Let's move to the two couples who split people. Like, let's have a look at the two couples that split people. So, well, Keisha and Kwame, I think that was doomed from the beginning. I felt that there was just even a couple of things in Bless Kwame's body language that said he'll go for different girls. I feel that for him, Sophie there was a few longer stares and a few little moments that certainly Kwame was more eyes on her, but acted accordingly. Let's be honest, but that was doomed from the beginning. Keisha, I think we saw the worst of potentially a person by them. Imagine constantly feeling rejected, trying it. It's when you maybe act the most out of character or feel the most out of your comfort zone and acting differently. And I think she came still out the other side looking beautiful and smelling of roses. So I can't help but feel she really was, I'll still say Shanita in my opinion, but because Keisha really wasn't given the opportunity to be a bride, was she? So she was nearly there as my bride of the season. And at one point I put her there, she represented herself so well. Again, Kwame with the constant, looking gorgeous, like, so hot, like fire, or beautiful, beautiful compliments. However, I think, again, you're leading her on there. And I think Kwame could have been a touch more real. He had put leave a couple of times, but he could have been just a touch more real, in my opinion. However, it was just not meant to be. And the more that Keisha kind of tried to make it happen, the more that I just think it wasn't going to happen. And she came to terms with it and just played that merry dance to see if anything happens. But I think of all the people who are going to do really, really well out of this, it will be Keisha. It will be Keisha. But one thing I'll always say is think if the shoe was on the other foot. I didn't like that from the beginning, where it's almost like, no, just have sex with her. Like, way around, I'm sure that would be a criminal case. So, I don't know. Talking of that, George and April. So, still nothing to come out. And Bless, thank you for your requests. I will absolutely. I love crime anyway, and I love watching crime-related stuff. So, when anything comes out in relation to George's case now, he's been arrested, not charged. So, that potentially, for me, says a little something in relation to there's been questioning, but hasn't gone to where they've done anything. But we won't speculate. We'll find out in relation to when more information comes out, and thank heaven these things do become public information. So I'll keep you in the loop. George and April, you're going to shout at me now, and you can get it off your chest. Get it off your chest. Go on. But I just feel in the last few weeks something needs to come out about April. That she's been the source of all manipulation, all these lies. I don't like that she's not been specific. I think she's kept herself on the show. I think she hasn't really liked George from the start, in my honest opinion. But I think there's been a few points where she's been optimistic as well. But she's coming out, I wouldn't say smelling of roses this time, but she's just coming out looking like a calm, collected woman. And I'm really not a fan. I've said that how many times? Not a fan, as in block attack. Not that type of fan. But no, I'm not a fan of April. However, I found myself in this last few weeks looking past that. I can't really see anything other than positives. How she's handled herself, how she's been relatively supportive of George. I don't know. I think there's been, little comments, but there have been little comments either side of this war that's been this season, where red corner versus the blue corner seems to have emerged as the season's gone on. So I can't really pick at that one. It's been as good as you're getting, but I don't know. Feel free to give me some negatives on that, because this could be one of those things where, Adam, you're not seeing this. Adam Light, you're not being bright. We'll take it. I feel clever when I come up with the rhymes. It's the same 4 words I use, but I feel really clever. I don't know why. If I had a tail, I would be wagging my tail right now. Anyway, let's move on. Definitely fast from that. As we move into the couple mesh madness. So, I guess the new couples, and these guys finish us up for the day. But we have got Sophie and Jonathan, came in late, ignored red flags to maintain themselves there. I thought there'd be a really good class divide conversation between what lifestyle she was expecting, and then what he was willing to work for. But it's felt like that really didn't come up, and what was her family representing themselves? Her family represented themselves quite well, which I thought initially wasn't going to be the case. And Jonathan's really strong ye old opinions. I still want to maintain that if he can get his own TV show where we hit him with some political information, I'd love to hear his very, very, very old-fashioned way of dealing with things. I think the only risk that you've got is it's so important to be able to listen, and not just listening, waiting for your opportunity with a gap to responding, and listening to the odd word so you then are in context of a conversation. But truly listening to what somebody says, and Jonathan can't do this. Now, God forbid, touch wood, this never happens, but say he has a severe issue where he really needs to listen past this, even like, say, a mental health issue. My gosh, he might need to be told a few things that he would really need to listen to. And I think it's really dangerous if you've not got that skill. I mean, it's a little embarrassing, but if past that, it's also risky. So for me, I'm hoping that he can develop a skill, not somebody who's going to reinforce him. That's the difference. Where he's not a bad-looking chap. You can go and find somebody now who, bless him, would reinforce. And this is where everyone's got to be stronger. Everyone's got to be stronger. No one should be looking for reinforcement, or B, reinforcing somebody's bad behaviour, regardless of whatever the weight is. Hence why I talk about that moral match being so important. But these guys, I'm pretty sure they're going to separate, and I really wish them the best, but they're just not for each other. And I think Sophie's had it perfect. If it is as I believe, and I'll never know, only she'll know, but I believe that she'd come in with a real plan to build a profile first and see if anything dreamboat happened. Well, it didn't. And I think it's quite interesting now that she's been able to come into this whole experience, exit still as a single girl. However, it's all his fault. So it's awesome for her, so she can walk away smelling the roses and maybe got everything that she wanted. But I don't know, I feel pleased for her. I feel pleased for Sophie. I honestly think, by the way, you know, that horse leg stuff, he was being insecure, you know. Whole Kwame, her going to the gym with 2 guys, he maybe felt Kwame quite liked her, and he was feeling really insecure. That's Adam Light dropping it tonight. May not, again, only he'll know the answer to that, but probably. He shows he's that kind of guy, let's be honest. Anyway, let's get into this mesh. And this comment that I'm going to have to just put the text up on the screen. I don't know. I don't know how the hell I'm going to do this, but because I can't say it. I've tried to say it on a video now and I just can't do it. It's just, wow. Anyway, Whitney and Duke came in. She's just rude, and really has to work on herself. I think that this is the really, really difficult part. What makes me sad is everyone's saying, oh, she's so happy now. She's so much happier now. I'm sure a lot of people are happier when they're indulging in even bad things that they've wanted to indulge in and been told their whole life they can't. Of course, you're going to feel satisfied. However, it doesn't, in the long term, make you feel anything other than empty. And good luck to Whitney. But for me, that joke she made about needing to see a therapist, I think the reality is that what she needs? I think we need to have a bit more of an American mentality to therapy, if I'm honest. Everyone out there's got a therapist. I think it's not necessarily a bad thing, having someone you can talk to, converse with and trust. But anyway, I really think Whitney needs one, though, like in an emergency sense, just Please stop hurting people. Dukas, sweetheart, may have been in it again for the wrong reasons. It seemed to be that he made a couple of comments. However, I don't think so. I think he was, again, ready to be as natural himself as he could. And he did a great job of doing that. So, good luck to him. Seemed like a genuine guy. And I think he isn't going to do too bad out of this. No one's looking at him, I think, going, what's happened, especially with the cheating situation. Matt and Whitney. I mean, this is where I kind of want to point on narcissistic tendencies. I can't say neither Jonathan or Matt are narcissists. I don't know them well enough. But I can spot tendencies in what I've seen on the TV to say there's something there. And in relation to the comment that I'm about to share. I also want to highlight a little bit of what I call false positivity. Because I'm a really positive guy. So some guys, I don't know who you are right now, but you really need to hear this. Because this is something where sometimes you're just being real about a bad idea or a bad situation. And someone will be like, you're being negative. Now, this is where someone who can't listen has read a lot of self-help books. So they love the quotes, Matt, they love the quotes that they've read, but they're not going to apply it past the parameters of what they are willing to do. So it's one of those where they're not willing to break out the comfort zone in the sense of anything other than pushing a target that they've got in that comfort zone. They're just going to continue to, any time that they're challenged on staying there, they're going to spurt out some positivity quote and say that you're being negative. I've never heard it. I don't know what this is. I've just noticed it over time myself, and I call it false positivity, where bless some partners I've seen over years being told they're being negative, when the reality is they're just spotting a bad idea. And I know being supportive, but there's also letting someone walk off a cliff while you clap and cheer and support them. But ultimately, at one point, you're going to feel like I probably just should have stopped them walking off the cliff. Probably. I mean, it depends who it is. You might want to kick them as they get to the end. I don't know. Depends who it is. But if you're there with them, probably not wanting to. Anyway, so watching out for that false positivity. And those things with the narcissism I found really, really interesting. Just because it was promises the I love you quick, the tattoo quick. No guy will say I love you quicker than someone who needs a place to live. That's guy charm. Soz girls, let's just be honest. Guys talk about this stuff a lot less than you think we do. But we do spot when guys play a game, and all I can say is there's been a lot of professing. He was also professing kids to Gemma, but I'll get to that one in a sec. But I just wanted to spot that. And again, Jonathan's inability to listen, and he's only then forcing his ideas. It seems like other than situations, he'll keep bringing back to that point of until eventually you'll just go, yeah, you're right. And that's the first time where you start breaking your spirit. Of course, we'll see other things in relation to separating you away from friends. Be careful with someone who just is being honest about a friend of yours, but if you can see them making real steps, because they don't have to like your friend, just bear that in mind. They can say, oh, no, they're cool, but I didn't like that. However, separating you is a difference. And again, I haven't seen that trait, but it'd be interesting to have seen if that had happened over the course of this season. But anyway, let's get to that comment. I'm just going to put it up on the screen now. So they're on the bridge. They're talking about kids. You won't remember this bit. So from, I don't know, episode 15, let's guess. They're stood on the bridge. They've just got married. And this is before the comment in relation to the fish. And they're talking about children. So have you got kids? Yeah, I've got 2 boys. And he's like, oh. Apparently that was edited quite well because he was really welcoming to the idea and was really good about it. Which again is a good quality. I can't deny. However, let's just say that this conversation Gem's made now further on down the line will probably seem a little more understandable. He said again about having some kids himself, and he's saying, well, actually, we'll have some honeymoon babies. So he's already welcomed the idea of we are going to do this. So that energy's already been matched. She says, well, I've got a coil in, so maybe not. Again, grown-up conversation we're having here. He then says, I've just got to put that up. I can't even. Excuse me, please. Can I check out of this entire world if people are saying stuff like this? Sorry, service. Yeah, I just want to check out the world. Forget it. I'm sick of it. People saying stuff like this. Must be mad. Now, if you managed to see that on the screen, I'm so sorry, but I don't know whether the word ripping was specific. All I'm going to say is that what I liked about when Jem shared some information with me was, say April, when she was giving that example of, oh, you can say the cushion, and he's saying, I'm not trying to have an affair with it, because she could pick something in the room there and apply it to a situation. More likely to be deceitful. Where for me, there was some specifics there that, I'm sorry, I just wouldn't go through a non-disgusting mind. And we're too specific. We're too specific. Now, could be interesting. But all I'm going to say is that then saying I love you to someone and getting a tattoo after them after 2 weeks, there's what becomes for me is a pattern emerging there. So yes, I'm open-minded to all angles. But wow, interesting. So guys, I think we've all took a lot to learn from these situations, and I really love that. I'd share with you one day when we're big enough the real reasons why I'm doing this. But your comments, honestly, guys, I had one today. I felt so good. My tail wagging again. But genuinely, it feels really, really good to just be in this position with you guys. And I might not see you really now after a couple of episodes till next year when Mass comes back. So just remember to come and find me. I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm just a guy with a light, feeling bright, making a video tonight. Praise. But yeah, no, much love, everybody. Come and join us for what will be maybe the final, smaller final videos of just dissecting what's happened in those episodes. Welcome to all my new Australian folk who are catching up from before. Again, brilliant to have you come along as well. I'm getting on to you guys next, or should be. I'm probably going to run a few. And let's just keep putting the world to rights, guys. Let's get out of it.